No. Pick up.
Time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now.
The all-new 2018 Camry. Toyota. Let's go places.
Conference reigning champion in Illinois State facing a conference frontrunner in 2017, Loyola Ramblers.
Loyola looking for revenge after Illinois State beat them last season on their way to the NBC title. Loyola just got off a season-high 7-game win streak, while Illinois State is on a season-high 4-game win streak, so a very good matchup in store tonight.
Ramblers have a high-powered offense. Illinois State, a stout defense. Should be an interesting matchup coming up at the Adeline Street Field next on The Valley on ESPN3.
Thank you. Thank you for making us award-winning dealerships.
Thank you for 60 great years of local support for the Heller stores.
Over the years, we've experienced lots of great changes, from new stores to new remodels, including our recent grand reopening at Heller Ford. But our one constant, our great customers, we are so very grateful for you. Thanks to you all, we're excited to serve you and all of the community for the next 60 years. We're Heller Ford in El Paso and Heller Motors in Pontiac. Shop us online at hellerstores.com.
The Missouri Valley Conference kicks off the 2017 Women's Soccer Championship November 3rd and 5th at Allison South Stadium in Springfield, Missouri, presented by Mediacom and Meyer Communications. Watch as the Valley's 4 top teams go for the goal to secure their spot in the NCAA tournament. For tickets and more information, call 417-836-7678 or visit MissouriStateTix.com. The Missouri Valley Conference, celebrating 25 years of women's athletics.
Back here at the Adeline Street Field on a damp night, Tom Price and Mike Morrow with you, and let's take a look at the starting lineup presented by your Illinois Ford dealership, starting with the visiting Loyola Ramblers. And Mike, it starts at the front, and it starts with a lot of goal scoring.
Well, Jenna Cesny, she has 11 goals on the year, and getting to the keys of the game for Loyola, get back on track. You had a 7-game win streak that was just snapped in your last match. And seek revenge. This is an Illinois State team that beat you last year on the Redbirds' way to winning the NBC title.
And that was right here at the Adeline Street Field. Now the Redbirds at home on a damp night. And let's take a look at their starting lineups. It's led in the back by Haley Smith, but of course up front, if the Redbirds want to keep pace with a high-scoring offense, it's going to be Sarah Lafayette.
Sarah Lafayette's coming off a career-high 2-goal game against Evansville on Saturday night. For the Redbirds, stay hot. You're on your season-high 4-game win streak, and a nice win over the NBC-leading Loyola Ramblers would be a nice victory here tonight. And play strong defense. Loyola's a team that's going to put up goals. Play your stout defense.
And now you look at Barry Bimby, the head coach of this Loyola team, in his 7th season guiding the Ramblers. Last year they were knocked out of the conference tournament here at Illinois State by this ISU team. On the ISU touchline, though, was a different coach last season. Eric Oles is gone. First-year man Brad Sylvie has taken over for Illinois State. And it looks like we're just about ready for the first touch between Illinois State and the Loyola University Ramblers. Ramblers looking for their first victory here since 2005 at Illinois State. And Mike, your final thoughts before they kick this one off?
This is a big momentum game if you're Illinois State. This is the Missouri Valley leading team in Loyola. And Illinois State got off to a slow start. They were the preseason favorite in the Missouri Valley Conference. And they just really didn't seem to find their way up until this 4-game win streak that they find themselves on right now. So if you could come in here and beat the 3-1 in conference Loyola Ramblers, you might find yourself in pretty good standing heading into the rest of conference play.
Visit your local FordStores.com to check out America's best-selling line of utility vehicles, Ford. Go further. And we're underway. As you might be able to hear, the Illinois State Pep Band in attendance as well. This will be an interesting night for both teams, especially early on. This is a night when the field is wet. You have a tendency to see more errors and more miscues happen because players slip and they're just not used to the slick conditions and the slip ball as well.
And as somebody said right before the game started up here in the press box that was down on the field, they said they compared it to swimming. If you like swimming with a layer of grass on top, that's what it's like out there. A very wet field, you're going to see the ball skip a lot, take weird hops off the grass, and it just adds a different element to the game.
in some ways, it makes it more exciting for us here in the press box and the fans watching at home. It adds an extra layer of spontaneous action that you don't usually get in these type of games, which are a little bit more back and forth. Anything can happen in this one, so it should be a fun one, especially anytime you get Loyola, Mike. This is a team that is a high-powered offense. 9 goals in a game against Chicago State. Multiple 5+ goal games this season. This is a high-powered offense.
Well, they come in at 10-4, 3-1 in conference, and they've scored 48 goals overall. So this is a very, very high-scoring offense, a very high-scoring Rambler team, and they've only allowed 17 goals. So you see just how dominant they can be and how good of a program they are this season.
On one side, Illinois State allowing just 0.79 goals, under a goal per game, while Loyola is averaging over 3.4 goals a game. So you have a high-powered offense meeting a really great defense. And you look at what Loyola's done so far this season. Wins of 9-0, as I mentioned, over Chicago State. 6-1 over Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, and a 5-0 win over Missouri State. Jump off the page just to begin with, as well as wins over Mercer and Oral Roberts, both of those by 5+ goals. And this is a really, really talented offensive team.
And when you go over to the Illinois State side of things, you look at how many times they've scored multiple goals in a game, and it's only been 3-2 in their last 2 games. A 4-1 victory here at Adelaide Straight Field against UIC, and again here on Saturday night against Evansville. And so if you're going to predict anything about the outcome of tonight's game, you're going to know Loyola is going to get on the scoreboard at one point, but Illinois State's going to have to respond if they fall behind.
It would be a phenomenal Herculean-like performance from Haley Smith if she's able to keep this a clean sheet for her team, but giving up just 1 goal to Loyola would probably be considered a success. For Illinois State on the other side, it's a question if they can keep pace with this high-octane offense. So far here in the early going, neither team getting a whole lot of great opportunities, and this looks like it'll set up our first corner kick of the match, and now really the first scoring opportunity for either side.
And Illinois State had a lot of these scoring opportunities last Wednesday against UIC. You've seen them in their own zone quite a bit, on offense quite a bit. And this was a team that was struggling to find the back of the net, and now they've scored 7 goals in their last 2 games. And so you need to have that here tonight as you're facing the high-powered Loyola.
In the box, Loyola attempting to clear. A shot comes from just outside the box, and it is off range. It'll be out of play. Back now with the Ramblers.
The other thing that's going to come into play tonight is, as you mentioned, Tom, the very good defense of Illinois State. You've seen it against UIC and Evansville, just how good they can be. But, I mean, this is a better test than both of those 2 teams. And so you're going to really see how you match up with some of the best in the Valley here tonight.
This is a preseason conference number 1. Illinois State was picked to win the conference against a team right now among the leaders of the conference in Loyola. And you'll have a foul against the Ramblers, first foul of this match. And now an opportunity for Illinois State coming off a free kick in a pretty dangerous area. They'll try to swing it near the box this time. To do the honors for Illinois State will be Emily Dickman. Dickman, of course, last Wednesday night, in a game you saw right here in the Valley on ESPN3, had 2 goals on senior night. And said she'll dump this one offshore to Zickert. Zickert now gets it into the box, headed away momentarily, and still attempted to be clear. Illinois State will maintain possession, and a pass ends up in the hands of the keeper as Maddie Ford, the senior from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, comes up and makes the stop.
You've seen right there how wet the field is and kind of the conditions that they're going to be playing in today. Is it did not appear that Emily Dickman wanted that pass to Kelly Zickert to go that far or deep towards the line, but it did.
Unger, dangerous pass, trying to get one more touch. Illinois State in the box. The shot comes zipped over the bar. Great effort that time by the team in black, Illinois State. It was Sarah Lafayette with a left foot that just missed.
Well, that's exactly who you want to try and find in this situation, is Sarah Lafayette. A very good scoring opportunity And as you said, Tom, just over the bar. And how about that? If they could have found the back of the net early on here in this match, I mean, what a momentum swing that is.
Right now, pace of play, and the shots are favoring Illinois State 4-0 in the shot category in the early going. Ramblers now on the counterattack. This ball will check up much slower, so an opportunity for some of those long-range passes to maybe be a little bit more successful. Great opportunity for the Ramblers. And this one just sent wide of the target. And Illinois State now able to clear it out. Great individual effort that time. Of course, by the woman we highlighted at the beginning of this program. She's having a tremendous season, is Jenna Cesny. 11 goals so far on the season for her just individually.
And when you look at the numbers, she's nearly outscoring Illinois State as a whole throughout this season. Illinois State only 14 goals, as you said, Cesny with 11.
She'll be a name that we talk about very often in this match. Katie Grail has it now, centered, and it's knocked away by ISU. Illinois State in the black tops with the black pants as well, while the Ramblers come out in the white tops of the white pants. It's almost a blackout look for Illinois State on what is a gloomy and dark night here at the Adeline Street Field in Normal. Pretty easy road trip for Loyola as well in terms of the travel, not significant on this day. And in fact, I happened to see their bus arrive to town right around 1 o'clock. So in a pretty early arrival for the Ramblers as well to get themselves situated here.
Yeah, I saw actually a few of them getting lunch. I mean, a 2-hour ride is not bad on the way into Normal. The other thing is this is another in-state, you don't want to call them rivals, but I mean, just about, I mean, with Wichita State leaving the Valley, Loyola's so close. You know, a big media market that Loyola has in Chicago.
I think both universities would love this to become a rivalry. Loyola is hoping to establish a little bit stronger of a foothold in that Chicago media market. And, of course, Illinois State is a school, I believe 85% of its students hail from the Chicagoland area. And obviously that means that its alumni base is very Chicago-based as well. So be a great possible rivalry still developing. Illinois State now on the move. Here's a shot. And handled that time by Ford as she dropped to her knees to make sure she held on. Mikkel Unger did a lot of the work setting up the shot that time.
And Ford's been tested here early. Even a shot that stuck to the ground like that and appeared to be right at the goalie, with these weather conditions, you can never trust that the
Jessica Denny, who got the shot on, but Unger, as I mentioned, really did a nice, nifty footwork to get herself in the scoring position and then gave it over to Denny. Here come the Redbirds now, working downhill. And this one cleared away just momentarily by Loyola. And, of course, Loyola, a recent addition to the Missouri Valley as well, and part of the reason that they were added was for that Chicago media market and to create rivalries like this possible one that we talked about between Illinois State and Loyola. And I think on the basketball court as well, we've seen these games become more competitive. Obviously, in the Missouri Valley, that's where a lot of rivalries start, but Loyola really taken some strides forward since joining the conference after originally being a member of the Horizon League. Here's Denny. And Denny has it booted out of play. It'll be another corner kick, second of the match for Illinois State.
And quickly, just going back to the point you made, Tom, they replaced Creighton. I mean, those are some heavy shoes to fill if you're going to try and replace Creighton. I think on the basketball court, they're on their way to doing so. I mean, a lot of preseason picks so far for this upcoming year to make the NCAA tournament. Obviously, you have Porter Mosier, a former Illinois State coach.
Helping the rivalry as well. Porter Mosier, a former ISU coach. Here on the pitch, though, these two teams met last year in the conference tournament, Illinois State dispatching the Ramblers in the opening round. And Illinois State has pretty much dominated this series, winning 12 of the 16 all-time meetings. But that's something the Ramblers would really like to change. Right now, Illinois State out shooting Loyola 5-0, and they've had 2 corners compared to 0 for the Ramblers. But that has not produced any goals as of yet. Illinois State working it all the way back now, trying to push forward to Unger, and Unger could not get there. And we'll have a stoppage of play, and we'll stay with Loyola. This is a day, I don't know who does the dry cleaning for the Loyola University team, but I think he wishes they picked a different color than white to wear because they're going to get very muddy in this type of game.
So far, just under 12 minutes into this game, and you can kind of see how wet the field is and how dirty the uniforms are going to be.
Illinois State went with the black, trying to obscure as much as mud as they could in their uniforms.
They have the white at the top. I mean, if that's getting dirty, you might be diving around a little bit, but not a bad day to go with the black tops.
Now it looks like the first corner for Loyola. Looks like it's Madison Loudman to swing this one in from the corner position. And this one corralled by Illinois State. And it'll be a goal kick. And now Illinois State to kick this one deep. Redbirds come in, and a dangerous pass right to the feet of a Loyola attacker. We'll have a stoppage of play. And it'll be a foul against Loyola, but that was nearly a costly mistake. As Haley Smith that time, I'm not sure what she saw, might have slipped on this wet turf and sent it right at a Loyola attacker. You don't get a better opportunity than that.
No, and that's one of those miscues that might come back to bite you at the end of the game, and Illinois State very, very lucky there.
And that was Cesny as well. That's not the person you want to turn the ball over to in the attacking area.
No, she's not going to make any mistakes around the goal, and Illinois State, like we said, got away with a big one right there.
And that's a rare mistake from Haley Smith, who's been one of the best goalkeepers in the Missouri Valley Conference. Second in goals average against so far this season. We're seeing physicality already being a factor in this one, and that's what you see a lot of times on these wet surfaces. The game becomes more physical because the finesse plays become harder to pull off just because you can't get the first touch you'd like.
Correct, and the footing is all different, and sometimes that contact of making contact with another player helps you become more stable, if that makes any type of sense. But on a wet playing surface, a lot of things come into factor, and physicality is one of them.
Redbirds trying to push forward here. Just about 14 minutes into this one. Still looking for our first score. Illinois State was looking to get it to Sarah Lafayette. Ball was at her feet, but she couldn't find it. And now here comes Illinois State again. Once again, a good clearance by the back row. Loyola, though, has been mainly back on their heels so far in this early part of the match, and you have to think on a day like this, it's an advantage to be at home because you have more familiarity with the field.
Correct, and that's the one thing is we have not been able to see how good this offensive progress is for Loyola. Still looking for their first shot even.
Ramblers will work this ball back. Here's a pass down the near wing, and it'll roll out of play. That was Madison Laudman, the senior from Western Springs, Illinois, and a transfer from Cincinnati. Trying to hook up with the teammate, could not. Intercepted by Loyola. Now they have an opportunity to attack. In the center of the field, this pass is rolled out wide. Normally that's a ball that gets out of bounds, but on this wet surface it stayed in play. And now headed away by Illinois State. The clearance yet not completed. Now Illinois State will force this one deep. Sarah Lafayette pressuring Loudman.
And that's the kind of defense that you saw last Wednesday against UIC. But credit Loyola because that's actually more contested than UIC was all night against the Redbirds, even though UIC did net a goal.
Emily Dickman with the interception. Trying to move the ball forward. It's knocked away from her feet, but Illinois State retains possession. We're under the 30-minute mark of this first half. We played 2 45-minute halves, counting down from the 45 number. Clock will stop on injuries and goals scored, as we have the referee blowing the play dead. Now we'll go back with Loyola. If you're substituted in the first half, you are not allowed to re-enter. And if you are substituted in the second half, you're allowed 1 re-entry. So that means a player in the first half will be not allowed to return in the first half, but can begin the second half of play back on the pitch. Free kick coming up. Here's Loudman. Lafayette pushing forward and goes off her foot, and they'll say a foul against Loyola. Loyola's still looking for their first shot in this game, but you would say they've had a couple nice opportunities when they center the ball and cross it into the box, but nothing yet that has produced a shot on net.
And that's really one of the main storylines here tonight, is how good this offense is. I mean, you see 48 goals. I know we keep repeating ourselves, but 48 goals at this point in the season.
Here's Zickert. Zickert throwing it forward. An opportunity for the Redbirds. Unger just wide. And it looks like Unger was offsides. Would not have mattered. As you take a look on the replay, a great goal-scoring opportunity, but negated just by inches on the offsides.
Again, just a second missed opportunity for Illinois State to get on the board. And anytime you're playing the top dog in your conference, you'd like to grab a lead early.
The one thing that this rain does for Illinois State, it almost acts as a deterrent to high-powered offenses. It creates a more, you almost say, ugly game because you just can't predict it as well. And that, for a really high-powered offense and a really fine-tuned offense as well, can really throw some wrenches in their gears.
And that's playing right into the hands of Illinois State, who hasn't scored very often this year. Finds themselves in quite a bit of close contests. And if you can limit Loyola's offensive opportunities and shots on net.
Great pass. Cesny, though, is offsides. Cesny just snuck behind that back defender. Otherwise, she was going to be in a real dangerous area, so back-to-back offsides in less than a minute. And now we've seen both teams fall fatal to it.
And again, not a girl that you want to see near your net, because more times than not, she's going to find the back of it.
Cesny, 11 goals on the season. Ball booted away for Illinois State. And over to Jessica Denny. Denny trying to show off the speed. Hunted by Savannah Cruz, and Cruz goes to ground. But it'll stay with Illinois State.
And here you go, Tom. Another offensive opportunity for Illinois State.
So far, no substitutions yet for either side. This feels like a day when we'll probably see more substitutions just because of the conditions, as there, a Rambler goes down hard. That's Sienna Cruz.
And that was an issue you seen last Wednesday against UIC for Illinois State, was they had to make 2 substitutions in the first half, as Angel Krell and Hannah Rogers got hurt early in that first half.
Illinois State clears it, but just momentarily. 25 minutes left to go in the first half of play. We're just about 20 or so minutes into the first period. No score as of yet. Shots have favored Illinois State in this match. So far, both goalkeepers have played pretty solidly. You would note that Maddie Ford's made a couple saves, and for Illinois State, Haley Smith's done a good job directing the defenders in front of her. She's not yet been tested with a shot on net. And Smith's a goalkeeper that necessarily doesn't make a whole lot of saves, but when she does, they're quality saves and oftentimes preserve clean sheets.
And how many times have you seen this year her come out of the goal to make a stop? She's been the workhorse of this Illinois State team so far at this point, and really when they were struggling, even though they weren't getting the wins in the win column, she was still playing very, very well despite getting a loss.
Illinois State has now won 4 in a row, dating all the way back to a 1-0 win over UMKC. Cesny moving forward. 2-on-3. Disadvantage for her, but she's able to poke in front to her teammate. This is Katie Grawl, and Grawl loses out of play. And you take a look at the wet conditions here. Anytime that ball is booted, a burst of raindrops come off it.
And you can see how wet, really, I shouldn't say unplayable conditions because they're out there playing, but
unpleasant.
Unlikely. You would not want them. These are unlikely, unwanted playing conditions.
Great job by our ESPN3 crew as well to get that shot. That shows you how difficult the situation is out there, not only for the players, but our crew as well. We're in here nice and warm. They got to be out there in the rainy conditions. We thank them for their work on this Wednesday evening. We thank you for tuning in here on the Valley on ESPN3. Scoreless right now for the first 23 minutes.
Somebody's coming in for 23 on Loyola.
And it looks like we're approaching our first substitution of this match. First, though, Haley Smith will send this one away. And it rolls right to the feet of Loudman. Loudman now pinballs it back. And we have a stoppage of play. Looks like a foul against Loyola.
The other thing that you want to say about the conditions that they're playing in is you can't practice for these types of conditions.
As this one crossed in, but easily handled at the back line by Maddie Ford once again.
Coming in for 23.
Out of play once again. And now we'll have our first substitution coming out is Savannah Cruz. Going on is Emily Lang, the senior from Western Springs, Illinois. Illinois State trying to force some play here. The last 10 minutes or so have fallen a little bit quiet. Neither team yet able to really gain their footing on this surface, both in the match and both on this field. Here come the Ramblers, however, on the counterattack. Across, into the box. It's loose, it's free. Stopped by Smith, somehow still free, and it pokes in. A couple different deflections result in the first goal of the match, and it belongs to the Loyola Ramblers, 1-0. Loyola. The team from Chicago comes down and pokes one in.
And off an Illinois State player, a great original stop and save from Haley Smith.
And it looked like it was Smith who eventually knocked it in accidentally, of course, but a couple different clearances attempted to be made by Illinois State. None could get it off the stripe, and finally off Smith's arms it went in.
I mean, you hate to see that, especially because you want to make the other team kind of earn the goal. And to see it come off your own player into the back of your own net, you hate to see that. But now the question is, will Illinois State answer back? A team that Brad Sylvie had some displeasures with as far as their ability to score goals. Here lately they've scored 7 goals in their last 2 games. So they're going to try it and get back on the board and keep their 4-game win streak alive.
Great start for Loyola, though. On the road, rainy conditions. And they'll credit to Sienna Cruz, the goal.
And the field conditions are only going to get worse as the game goes on, because obviously when you first get out here, the field's wet. And then once you start running on it, going back and forth.
You're already seeing the high volume areas, the midfield area where lots of players from both teams are running, are already getting chewed up a little bit, and that'll become most of the field once we get later into this first half and even the later parts of the second half. Zickert will boot this one deep. Good range, good shot as well, but just missed. A little bit too much power that time, and it'll be now a goal kick for Loyola. Ramblers having a tremendous season. They went 7-3 in the non-conference. They're 3-1 in conference play and 10-4 overall. ISU 7-5-2, but been playing their best soccer as of late, and this is the good time to do it as they enter the conference schedule. Lafayette knocks it away for Illinois State, but her dribble poked in front. Now Cesny has it. One-on-one with the defender, trying to beat the Illinois State defender, and she could not. Credit that time to Kate Del Fava. She was alone with the most dangerous goal scorer in the conference, and she was able to knock it back to Smith, who was able to clear the danger. Loudman walking it forward. Sent it down the right flank. Crossed into the box, and Del Fava once again will be tasked with booting this one out of play.
The other thing, if you're Illinois State,
and how about so far in the match? One shot on goal for Loyola, one goal. That's a pretty good percentage. Redbirds have 6 shots, but only 1 on net. And for Illinois State, Haley Smith's yet to make a save. She made the initial stop on the goal that came into for Loyola, but ultimately wasn't credited with the save as it still ended up in the back of the net in that sequence. And we have a game of pinball going back and forth, as that'll be the second time in a row that the ball's knocked out of play in the area just in front of the corner kick spot. Throwing in is Emily Alderman. Redbirds yet to make a substitution in this first half, Mike, and a little bit surprising. How do you think, if at all, Brad Silvey, the head coach of this Illinois State team, and Barry Bimby, the head coach of Loyola, try to train their players and get them used to these rainy conditions? What can you do to try to simulate this in practice?
the thing is you can't. That's truly what I believe. You can't really replicate this. I mean, you see it in other sports. You can wet the ball a little bit and then, go out and, resume your practice. But you really can't replicate this, especially with how wet this field is. And a lot of it's just due in part to whenever you see rain or a storm coming, you tend to either practice inside or cancel practice.
Crossed in the box, off the crossbar as Smith was tracking it. She was ready to leap towards the upper 90 portion of that goal. Instead, it hopped off the crossbar and out of play, but a tremendous effort from long range that time for Loyola.
And so far here in the last 5 minutes or so, you're starting to see Loyola's offense kind of wake up, get the ball into the box a little bit more, and try and find the back of the net. And a very nice long-range attempt right there.
Emily Lang that time was the player will be credited with a shot. Great effort from her. Just missed the target by inches. Ramblers trying to force pressure once again. And Kate Del Fava had it for the Redbirds. She loses possession. And a game played in the midfield will certainly favor Loyola at the moment, since they have that 1-0 advantage. Redbirds now in the counterattack. Here's Kelly Zickert. She finds Lafayette with lots of room. Lafayette, left part of the box, coming in on net. She puts it just wide of the post. Sarah Lafayette had lots of room to operate, and the University High graduate from right here in Normal just missed.
Right off the right foot. Tried to find the corner of the goal. A very nice attempt from Lafayette. And now this is twice in this game you've seen her with a golden opportunity to find Illinois State a point on the scoreboard. And again, she's coming off a career-high 2-goal night. And now she's in the team lead with 4 goals on the season.
Certainly playing with a lot of confidence, but that time couldn't smash it home. Michaela Unger was trying to start the move for Illinois State.
And you like to see that if you're Brad Silva, because Lafayette, just a freshman, she's going to be here for a while, and she's been one of the bright parts of this team.
Cesny in on the goalkeeper, and Smith was able just to knock it away. Smith that time, surprising she didn't come out and drop to her knees or get down on the ground to block that one. Instead, just remained upright and was able to make the stop. Now Redbirds reverse the field pretty quickly. Here's Zickert. Zickert looking for help. Dishes it off. Nice move by Illinois State. Emily Dickman dishes inside to Unger. Unger first touch, and it won't matter. She's offsides. Second time Michaela Unger's gotten behind the defense, but gotten behind the defense because she was offsides.
Nice find by Dickman right there. As you mentioned, Tom, the second time she's been caught offsides. Both times, Illinois State on the move. Very nice offensive sets that very well could have ended up in a goal.
Dickman once again pokes it away. Ahead to Unger, a second opportunity. She slams it home. Michaela Unger, there's no offsides that time. And the Redbirds have tied the match at 1.
Well, there's your answer back from Michaela Unger. Certainly making up for her 2 offsides earlier in the game.
And she caught Maddie Ford leaning. Ford was looking right where the open part of the net was. Instead, Unger smashed it to the left side and just snuck it underneath the left arm of the goalkeeper in net, Maddie Ford. And we're tied at 1.
And we were just talking about how her 2 offsides kind of resulted in no goals for Illinois State. What a better way to redeem yourself than finding the back of the net literally just about 30 seconds later and knotting this game up.
What a great first touch as well that time from Unger. Difficult to do that on that wet surface, but she was able to take the first touch strongly and slam it into the netting. So now Illinois State has leveled this match at 1. Be interesting to see the response from this Loyola team. Important for them before halftime to get some positive momentum going. Even if they don't get a goal, you'd like to see a few goal-scoring opportunities.
I mean, it seemed like really until that goal was scored, Loyola was kind of gaining all the momentum, kind of finding their offense, getting in some sort of rhythm, and then Michaela Unger nets one home.
Redbirds playing with some momentum right now. Well, this one will go out of play and back with the team in the now partially white uniforms, Loyola.
And why not, if you're Illinois State, play with some confidence, play with some momentum. You're on a 4-game win streak, a team that really struggled right out of the gate. And as you said, Tom, they're playing their best soccer here of late.
Unger takes it away. Ahead to Dickman. Dickman with some fancy footwork. Trying to pass it one more time. Von Lowe was in the box ready to receive, but taken away. Now Kate Del Fava from the back row has it poked away. Ball stops dead. Very rarely do you see that. Here's Unger. Unger. Back heel. Nice pass. Emily Alderman just outside the box. Left-footed dribble in, and the cross was knocked away. The clearance will stay in play and allow Loyola to get a further clearance now. This is ahead to Von Lowe. Back to Unger. 1-1 score. 11 minutes and 45 seconds left to go. This crossed into the box, headed away by Loyola. They've been on the heels now for the last couple minutes. Dickman in the center of the pitch. Crosses it to the left flank. And Zickert had the pass go behind her. She tumbled the turf as she tried to get it. And once again, a partial clearance from Loyola. But they've yet to be able to really fully clear the danger in this sequence. It's been a long one. Here come the Redbirds. Zickert once again with space and time. Crosses it to Dickman. Dickman with room. Sends it in. Emily Dickman on the left foot puts it home for Illinois State. And in less than 5 minutes, 2 goals from the Redbirds, and they have a 2-1 advantage.
You get another look at it right here. What a shot from Emily Dickman. And as you said, Tom, Loyola was on their heels for an entire sequence right there, probably a good 2 minutes, ending in Dickman finding the back of the net.
And you saw it was one of the defenders getting mixed up with the goalkeeper, Maddie Ford. And Ford that time looks like it maybe took a heel to the face, and that could have, and you would probably say probably did affect her ability to stop that shot. Obviously the defender was there trying to help, but looked like it might have done more harm than good.
It almost bit them in the butt, being the defender in the right spot right there.
So an Emily Dickman goal has the Redbirds in front. And now she sends it down to Unger. Unger looking to put a strike once again and perhaps really change the complexion of this one. Already 2 goals in this first half. Vaughn Lowe, interception. Illinois State playing keep away. Emily Alderman with space, and that shot is off target. And actually it looked like it ended up being a cross, a pretty good one in fact, to Kelly Zickard, but Zickard bumped her defender, and it'll be a foul against Kelly Zickard.
I think that's how she drew it up, a shot into a pass, right? And that actually turned into a pretty decent opportunity for Illinois State right there. But the one takeaway so far is we come up on about 35 minutes into this match is we talked about how good the Loyola offense is, but you haven't seen much of it. You've really seen Illinois State on offense a majority of this first half, resulting in them with a 2-1 lead.
So far in this match, there's 4 shots on goal, and we've seen 3 of them go in the back of the net. 3 for Illinois State, just 1 shot on goal for Loyola, and that is their goal. In the match, just 11 shots as well. So the teams have been able to produce high-volume goal-scoring opportunities, so good chances to score the ball.
You've seen a lot of quality shots here, and that's the one thing that you kind of seen Wednesday night against UIC is a lot of the long-range shots. I know Emily Dickman took a few that found the back of the net, but it's these quality shots that have resulted in the goals here tonight.
Cessny trying to run down the long pass out of play.
And you see how often Loyola is trying to get her incorporated and get the ball under her control. But credit Illinois State, their defense has stepped up, and they needed to tonight.
And it seems like Emily Dickman's playing with a whole lot of confidence. She's made some really nice moves in the midfield, and as well as moving the ball into the attacking area. And 2 goals for her last Wednesday, and now her 3rd goal of the season. They've all come in a week period.
And I was just going to say, I mean, it's crazy what one game will do for you. One game like that, a 2-goal game, if you start the season off struggling, a 2-goal game like that will give you a ton of confidence, and if you can continue with that confidence and turn it into some momentum towards the end of the season, you know, it's a different player out there.
Michaela Unger has it down the near wing. Tripped up as that ball poked away from her. We're into the final now, 10 minutes, under the final 10-minute mark, in fact. 2-1 lead for the team in black, Illinois State. Loyola in the visiting white jerseys. Throw in. That's to Alex MacArthur, who's just checked in. Getting it back to Unger. Unger looking to cross it to MacArthur in the box. Shot off target. Second opportunity for the Redbirds, and they poke it home. And no, the flag is up, and it'll be offsides against Illinois State.
What a swing that would have been if you could have taken a 3-1 lead.
Would have been 3 unanswered for Illinois State, but credit to the official. He never changed his mind. That flag went up in the air as soon as that ball went in. And for Illinois State, it would have been an impressive 3-1 lead. Instead, it remains a 2-1 game, but the Redbirds have been really aggressive in these final 15 minutes.
And you've seen that happen to Illinois State last Wednesday against UIC. Would have been their 5th goal. Was waved off to an offsides. But in a game like this, where you're still in the first half, you're playing the Missouri Valley Conference leading team, to take a 3-1 lead into halftime would be humongous.
And for MacArthur, a really nice shot, and I think she knew her teammates were there to back her up, but Unfortunately for Illinois State, they just could not stay on sides that time. As Haley Smith has that one go in from an improbable angle somehow. What a shot off the left foot, a laser, and we're tied at 2. What a momentum shift. Illinois State just moments ago thought they had the third goal. Now the match is level. And Katie Grawl that time somehow rainbowed it in from basically on the goal line. Incredible.
And there's your answer, but, I mean, I don't think that's the answer that was drawn up. I mean, like you said, Tom, almost improbable. The percentages of that shot going in have to be incredibly low, but somehow Loyola finds the back of the net. And now how big does that offsides resulting in no goal hurt you now?
And how about this, Loyola? 2 shots on goal in this game, 2 goals. And for Haley Smith, a normally reliable goalkeeper, she has had her struggles in this one, perhaps due to that wet surface. Illinois State now pushing forward, looking for the opportunity to go back in front. This has been a fun affair so far, tied at 2. As Unger tried to knock it to a teammate. And Cesny will now boot it deep. Opportunity for Loyola. Here's Kat Stevens. Stevens waiting for Cesny. And taken away by Kate Delfava. Here's Alex MacArthur once again. MacArthur able to knock it down to a teammate. Into the middle of the field. Looking for Unger. Pass floated to Unger, and she's offsides. Third time in this match she's been caught offsides. Third time if she had been onside. Would have been a great goal-scoring opportunity. Instead, it remains level.
Even though she does have that one goal here tonight, a rough night for her, her third time being offsides. But heading back over to the Loyola side of things, look at Jenna Cesny. She does not have a shot yet. She's had a couple opportunities.
I would say the amount of attention she has attracted has helped this offense get going, and both of their goals have not been traditional in any sort of fashion. You have the borderline own goal, just a wild scramble of chaos in front of the net, and then the impossible angle shot from Grawl.
And that makes 50 goals for Loyola so far this season.
And that's goal number 8 for Katie Grawl. Ramblers now, they can look for the goal to get themselves a nose in front before we enter the halftime break. Lots to do at halftime as well. Don't forget our halftime show coming up. We're tied at 2, under 4.5 minutes now up until that halftime break. Dickman gets it in front to Zickert. Zickert spins, trying to find anybody, wheels around, and finally just clears this one out of play down the right side. Illinois State with an interception. This ball's knocked away. Natalie Von Lowe was trying to slide it to Unger. Instead, she slid herself as her own feet came out from underneath her.
And these playing surfaces are only getting worse.
The second half's going to be very, very interesting to watch.
And that's the one thing that I was just going to mention, though, is
as
how
we take a look at our halftime report, we'll take a look at the conference standings, highlights, and analysis of the first half stats, all coming up on the Country Financial Halftime Report.
When the game was only 1-0 Loyola, you really wanted to see Illinois State answer back pretty early on here, because if you get into the second half where the playing surfaces just continue to get worse and worse, it's going to be harder and harder to answer back and get the ball in the back of the net.
Speed shown off by Lang. A cross goes into a dangerous spot, and Delfava clears it. Redbirds pushing forward, final 3 minutes of this first half. It goes to Dickman. Dickman centers it. A dangerous spot for Natalie Von Lowe, and running it down is Maddie Ford. Just a step in front of the freshman Von Lowe. Loyola has to be pretty happy, Mike, with the way they've played in this first half. And I would say Illinois State has pretty much dominated the pace of play for 35 to 40 minutes of this 45-minute first half. To go into the locker room level, you have to be pretty satisfied with that, if they can do it. Redbirds pushing forward, looking for a final goal in what has been an action-packed first half. Denny trying to get it to Zickert. Zickert tumbles down in the box, but it'll roll up the right touchline and not go out of play. That's where you see that wet surface really affecting it. That's normally simply out of play. Instead, a second opportunity for Illinois State. Zickert trying to get it to a teammate, unable to do so.
I'm so annoyed right now.
Dickman gets it back in the box, trying to poke it forward. Unger scoops it up. And her shot is well off target.
And if you're the goalkeeper for Loyola, Maddie Ford, did you think you're going to have this active of a first half? I mean, this is an Illinois State team that struggled up until really the last two games that they've had. They've really struggled offensively. So if you're Maddie Ford, you're probably a little bit surprised at how busy you've been here in this first half.
Final now, 60 seconds.
1 minute remaining in the first half. 1 minute remaining.
Loyola will attempt one final valiant push. And instead, unable to clear it. Now an opportunity for Unger, who's running to get this ball. She'll throw it in. Cross goes in, and the cross goes right to the goalkeeper. Maddie Ford once again scooping it up. That was Megan McGarren to do the honors. Now final 30 seconds. Loyola, at this point, not in a hurry to operate. This will be a high kick. And right to the feet of Illinois State. But Natalie Von Loo's pass will be easily corralled by Loyola. Now final 12 seconds. And Illinois State looking for a ball, trying to get a ball. And now they do. Thrown in. Knocked out of play, and that looks like it'll do it for the first half. An action-packed first half. 4 goals between the two squads, 2 for each side. We only saw 13 shots, but 4 of them went in the back of the net.
Well, you expected to see that out of Loyola, and surprisingly, the 2 goals Loyola haven't been they haven't been a quality shot. I mean, a near own goal, like you said, a nearly improbable shot from the goal line. It's really been Illinois State all this first half. And you'll see it coming up on the halftime show.
Loyola goals bookend the first half. They open up the scoring, they close the scoring in the first half. 2 Illinois State goals in between. And we head to halftime, tied at 2. We'll step aside for a moment. You are watching The Valley on ESPN3.
Single action. The beat of a single redbird's wings can produce reverberating transformation. It starts with you. Your investment provides the resources that pique the curiosity, that develops the dreams, and teaches redbirds to fly.
Redbirds.
Redbirds. Redbirds!
Rising. Redbirds Rising. The campaign for Illinois State.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
I remember when your mom and I got our first home loan. I put on my best suit and I brought a pile of papers to the bank.
Well, Dad, things have changed since the 1960s. I got my home loan online.
What? How can you trust anyone online?
Because it's the same bank that has your home loan.
Heartland?
Heartland Bank.
I always knew you were my smartest son.
Dad, I'm your only son.
Heartland Bank. We provide the home loan. You make the memories. Heartland Bank. Equal.
Welcome back to our halftime report presented by Country Financial. If it's important to you, we protect it. Let's take a look at the stats from the first half. And the shot totals heavily favor Illinois State, but the goal totals are even at halftime.
And that's the most shocking thing is how good of an offense Loyola has. Only 3 shots, 2 shots on goal that ended up finding the back of the net. They ended up notching their 50th goal this season here in the first half, and that's just an outstanding number. And if you're Illinois State, you take the MVC leading team to halftime, tied at 2, and you got to feel pretty good about yourself.
One interesting note there is 10 shots for Illinois State, but just 3 on goal. That's a product of getting long range and low quality looks. On the other side for Loyola, almost all their shots have been shots on goal, and obviously their 2 shots on net have both trickled in for the Ramblers. Be interesting to watch the goalkeepers in the second half. So far, Haley Smith, no saves, and Ford with just 1.
And the other thing you want to note about this game is Illinois State's had other opportunities. 1 goal that was waved off due to an offside, and Michaela Unger has 3 offsides calls that could have potentially resulted in goals as she was right next to the goal.
And that goal that got waved off will loom very large as we're now knotted at 2. Still lots to do at halftime. Tied up at 2 between Loyola and Illinois State. You're watching The Valley on ESPN3. The Missouri Valley Conference kicks off the 2017 Women's Soccer Championship November 3rd and 5th at Allison South Stadium in Springfield, Missouri, presented by MediaCom and Meyer Communications. Watch as the Valley's 4 top teams go for gold, secure their spot in the NCAA tournament. For tickets and more information, call 417-836-7678. Once again, 417-836-7678. Or visit MissouriStateTix.com. The Missouri Valley Conference, celebrating 25 years of women's athletics. Back here at the Adeline Street Field, still tied at 2. We'll step aside once again. Coming back in just a moment, 2-2 game here between Illinois State and Loyola on the Valley on ESPN3. We're knotted up as 2 here at halftime between Illinois State and Loyola of Chicago. And let's take a look at the let's take a look at the Missouri Valley Conference standings. And you look at the top, who is up there? It is none other than the Loyola Ramblers. They've obviously played a little bit more of their conference schedule so far this season, but a win today would do them a lot of good in terms of building up that resume heading in towards the conference tournament coming up in the later part of this season in the beginning of November. In fact, November 3rd and 5th. Don't forget, only the top 4 qualify, so still a lot of work to do for Illinois State to get there.
And why not start right here tonight with a win over, so far, the Missouri Valley Conference leader, Loyola, and you see them with a 10-4 record. Illinois State 7-5-2. Illinois State trying to work their way up, get their second Missouri Valley Conference win, and as you said, Tom, only the top 4 make it. Illinois State on the outside looking in right now, the preseason favorite in the Missouri Valley Conference. Got off to a slow start on a 4-game win streak, looking to continue that here tonight against the top Missouri Valley Conference team.
If you're Loyola, you're probably looking for one more conference win to solidify yourself and pretty much secure a spot in the top 4. For Illinois State, a loss tonight would do a lot of damage. You'd probably have to finish with at least 3 of your last 4 being wins. So this is a crucial second half for Illinois State. For Loyola, maybe not as much. A draw would not do them any damage. But for Illinois State, you wouldn't say this is a must-win, but this is certainly a game you can't afford to lose.
It's a game that you'd like to have, and especially a team that's trying to build confidence. A big win here tonight would do major justice.
Second half coming up. Before we get to that, we'll take a look at the highlights next here on the halftime show. Tied at 2, Illinois State and Loyola. You're watching the Valley on ESPN3.
There's nothing quite as magical as staying at a Disney resort hotel.
Valley on ESPN3 is brought to you by Country Financial. If it's important to you, we protect it. Really entertaining first half. These wet conditions made for a lot of offense. And let's take a look at the first half highlights, Mike.
Action-packed. Did you see that first go off Haley Smith's hand? Michaela Unger making up for her 2 offsides right there, netting one.
Here's the improbable goal from Grawl, and you see on that angle how difficult that shot was, and now Dickman responds.
And Emily Dickman playing with a lot of confidence ever since her senior night performance just a week ago. And now it's going to be interesting to see as this second half starts. The field very, very wet.
Getting ready for the second half between Illinois State and Loyola. What do you think the conversation was like between Illinois State head coach Brad Silvey and his squad after what was a pretty dominating first half performance, but you go and tied at 2?
You probably just sit there and you tell the girls not to let up. I mean, when you look at it, statistically and momentum-wise, Illinois State dominated that first half. And every time Loyola scored, well, I should say the first time Loyola scored, Illinois State responded. But credit Loyola, I mean, they came back after Illinois State took a 2-1 lead to tie it up going into the break. But if you're Loyola, I mean, you really haven't had a chance to showcase the offense that you came in with outside of one improbable shot and an own goal by Haley Smith. But they did. I mean, that's 50 goals on the season now. I mean, you got to – I mean, that's an offense that can score at a high rate. I mean, you see them notch 9 goals in one game against Chicago State. Granted, it is Chicago State, but 9 goals in any game is pretty impressive. And so
interesting for Illinois State, if there was ever a day you're thinking about making a goalie change, it would be today after Smith has started slow. Obviously, I imagine Sylvie and company will leave her in net, but not the first half that we're used to seeing from someone like number 1 in the light blue for Illinois State.
No, and that goal that you've seen go in right over her head, the improbable goal, she had a shot to save it, but maybe just misread it off the foot.
It felt like on a dry surface on another night that might have been easier to save. Once you start backpedaling on this difficult, wet, muddy area around the net, it's difficult to get the height you need to make the jump to knock that one out of play. After Loyola opened with possession to begin the first half, it'll be the Redbirds in the black to open up the second half. The rain continues to be a factor here at Illinois State. It's never been heavy, Mike, but it's always been persistent.
And it's steady enough that you see the field conditions the way they are, where a lot of the traffic is on the field. You can see the mud starting to form, practically no grass. And like we said, Tom, the conditions are only going to worsen, and you're probably only going to see sloppier play as a result of it.
You combine fatigue with poor playing surface and poor playing surface conditions. That's not a fault of any of the groundskeepers here, just a factor of the way this day has been, really the last couple days. Heavy rain in the area, and it just beats down this turf over time. Then once you put players on top, they chew that up.
And you hate to see it if you're Illinois State because you'd like a clean surface here today. As you said it at halftime, Tom, Illinois State kind of seemingly in a must-win situation. Otherwise, you put yourself in a very, very tough spot coming down the final few games of the second half.
The one thing you could say is they have played the top 2 teams in the conference already after this game, but this is not one you want to lose if you're ISU. Smith comes charging out like a bullet, and she slides to stop that one. Here come the Ramblers pushing forward as Illinois State takes over possession. Dickman has it. Left-footed pass down to Lafayette. Lafayette in the box. Lafayette in a dangerous spot. Crosses it. Still loose. Illinois State knocks it home. Michaela Unger for the second time tonight. Unger slams it in. And for Illinois State, they have a 1-goal advantage. It's 3-2. And 2 underclassmen hooking up. It's the freshman Lafayette finding the sophomore Unger.
Well, that's Unger's second goal tonight, her 3rd of the season. And really erasing and redeeming herself of those offsides penalties that she's had. And that one puts them ahead. The first one she had tied it up. This one giving them the lead, and now it's up to the Illinois State defense and Haley Smith to keep that lead and knock off the top dog in Loyola.
Credit to Sarah Lafayette as well. The freshman put that ball in the middle of the field, and it was loose for a long time in front of the net before Unger slammed it in. Long-range shot, easily corralled that time on the back row.
And again, we mentioned it last Wednesday. Brad Silvey called for his team to have better goal scoring, more offense, and how about that? Now, 3 straight games that they've scored multiple goals. 3 straight games they've scored 3 or more. 4 against UIC, 3 here against Loyola, and 3 against Evansville.
Here come the Ramblers on the counterattack. This one knocked out of play. Last touch by ISU. Stay with Loyola.
So after a slow start to the season, you really like how they've started this second half here. And the offense has shown up these last 3 games.
Ahead to Unger. Unger with some space. And knocked away from her.
And if you're the team, and obviously Loyola is down, but if you find yourselves down here in this second half, these sloppy playing conditions do not favor a team that is down, that is trying to make a push for positive momentum in the game. As with the sloppy surfaces, you're more prone to mistakes.
Trying to cross it in, knocked away by the Redbirds once. Now cleared by ISU. Pass knocked away once again. It'll be last touch by Loyola, so go back with ISU. ISU came out with a really great start and picked up right where they left off in that first half for Loyola. You have to consider yourself fortunate to be down by just the 1 goal. Illinois State's had a couple opportunities, including a goal that went in, negated by offsides. And one of Loyola's goals was a rather lucky, chaotic sequence that you get sometimes in soccer, but the other goal was certainly skill. But now, for the Ramblers, have to find a way to take advantage of what's been some lucky breaks for them. Don't want to afford a loss on the road here if you can avoid it. Maddie Hart done her job pretty well so far. That pass was a difficult one for the goalkeeper to stop when Unger sent it home.
And if you're Maddie Ford, I said it in the first half, but you got to wonder if she really expected to be this busy and active in the goal here tonight against Illinois State. Obviously, their last few games they've been putting points on the board, but a team that struggled, obviously Loyola coming off a 7-game win streak that was just snapped in their last game, which was a 2-1 loss to Valparaiso. But you got to wonder if you maybe underestimated Illinois State, obviously the MVC favorite during the preseason.
And I would say I think Barry Bimby had his team ready to go. They knew that this was a Illinois State team trending in the right direction. But on a night like this, I think you throw out a lot of what you're used to doing, and it becomes a physical, beat-down battle. And sometimes teams that get lucky breaks are going to win games.
And obviously it's not ideal if you're coming from 2 hours on a bus trip. You get off, and it's one of the colder nights here so far this season. And obviously with the rain coming down and the field conditions, not an ideal road trip if you're Loyola.
Ramblers would love to make that 2.5-hour ride back to Chicago, or actually the northern part of Chicago, up on Lakeshore Drive, with a win in their back pocket. But that corner kick was knocked away. Still with possession of the Ramblers. This pass thrown in. Across comes. Dangerous spot. And Jessica Denny will get a foot to it to send it deep. That one rolled through the box for a long time before Denny was able to get to it. Denny that time went to the ground hard. No foul called, and it's poked forward. And now a Rambler goes down hard. Kate Del Fava will be charged with the foul. Cesny that time The goal-scoring fiend on this team. So far, 11 on the season for her. She's been relatively quiet tonight.
She's still looking for her first shot. And honestly, when you talk about this Loyola team, we talked about how good their offense has been so far to this point in the season. They've kind of been underwhelming here to this point in the game.
Cross comes in and headed away by Illinois State. That was a dangerous spot, a good cross off the free kick. And now Illinois State looking just to clear this one out of play. And Zickert does the job. Taylor Lamboris threw it in for Loyola. Ramblers ratcheting up the pressure as this one knocked out of play, but last touch by Loyola. Shot still favoring Illinois State 12-3. And 5 shots on goal for the Redbirds compared just to 2 for the Ramblers. As this ball will be poked away, and now a foul against the Ramblers.
And if you're Loyola, you can't be happy with just the 3 shots so far here tonight, because that's not going to win you a game, especially if you're coming to play in a hostile environment that is Adelaide Straight Field, and you find yourself down 3-2 here, only 3 shots to this point. If you want to come back and win this game, you're going to have to ratchet that up quite a bit.
A 3-2 advantage for Illinois State. They struck just moments into this second half. And that's the one disadvantage, Mike. You score early, now you have to cling to that lead if you're unable to find the second goal.
And there's a lot of time left for this Loyola team that has
very capable of scoring goals.
Exactly, that has yet to find its groove offensively. And if you're Illinois State, you don't want them to find a groove because they scored a high clip.
Ball worked to Lafayette. She had an assist on the last goal. Comes charging down the field, trying to force it to Dickman, and it was knocked away. Ramblers now with some offensive zone pressure, but Smith clears the danger. Redbird faithful and the Adeline Street Field not happy as that will be a foul against ISU. A lot of contact on both sides that time, but clear call made by the official, and will be a great opportunity once again for Lamboris, the defender, the junior from Farmington Hills, Michigan. And Smith, did she get a touch to that one? They say she did, but she could not come away with it as she would made a sliding effort, and now a corner kick.
From our perspective, it looked like she might have just whiffed on that one.
Looks like she got just enough to change the path of that ball. I think either way, it was off target on net. And for Smith, another, you would say, unusual blemish. She's normally quite solid, but in this match, she has struggled.
She has not looked like herself, the MVC Defensive Player of the Week, multiple times this year.
That was a great corner kick that came in. A couple different Ramblers were near it. Looked like it was Madison Loudman who was able to get a head on it, but just a little bit off target.
Again, Loyola just not able to find the back of the net, not able to find their groove offensively. Credit the Illinois State defense, because every time they've had their backs up against the wall, they've been able to turn Loyola away. And really, for a majority of that first half, Illinois State was on offense and had Loyola on their heels.
Tom Prizeman, Mike Morrow with you on a cold, rainy night here in central Illinois between the Illinois State Redbirds, the home team in black, and the visiting Loyola University of Chicago Ramblers. Throw in upcoming. Official stops play. A word of warning to a member of the Redbirds, and now continues on. Just about 12 minutes in to this second half. The one goal is the difference in this second half of play. Michaela Unger, a huge night for the sophomore.
And if it wasn't for a goal negated by offsides, Illinois State would have a 2-goal advantage. Michaela Unger with plenty of offensive opportunities, taking advantage of 2 of them so far.
That'll be a foul against Loyola as a cross came in from a dangerous spot. Great job once again by Cesny as she tried to hook up with a teammate, but the pass fell incomplete. And it'll be a foul against Loyola.
Cesny has yet to make an impact on this game at all. As we've mentioned, Loyola's had a struggle trying to get anything on net. Cesny still looking for her first shot attempt here in this match.
And Unger, one of the many products on this team out of Shattuck St. Mary's High School. One of the top prep programs in the country in terms of girls soccer. A plethora of teams at the school, and you look at Illinois State's roster up and down, a lot of talent has come out of one program as this ball is headed away. Starting goalkeeper Haley Smith, a product of Shattuck St. Mary's. Angel Krell, one of the leading goal scorers for ISU who you have not seen this evening, is from Shattuck St. Mary's. And, of course, Michaela Unger, the 2 goals on the night from Shattuck St. Mary's. So the Redbirds really taking advantage of that Shattuck St. Mary's program, the leading Division I producing school in the country. And you look across almost any team in the country and you'll likely find at least one player from Shattuck St. Mary's. Loyola, one of the few that ISU has played this season without a single player from that high school. But shows you the strength of a school to produce players at that level. You think almost of what Oak Hill did in basketball. That's Shattuck St. Mary's. Here come the Redbirds now. Down the near flank. Looking to work it up the touchline. Denny steps in front. Now Zickert has it. Zickert across to the back post. Redbird goes down hard. No contact that time, though, as Sarah Lafayette slipped on the slippery surface.
Would have been a nice offensive opportunity for Illinois State right there. Again, another girl that you'd want to find in a dangerous zone is Sarah Lafayette, again coming off a career-high 2-goal night against Evansville.
Haley Smith corrals that easy shot right at her. Third shot on net, but that's a shot that really was not much of a challenge for Smith at all. And that's why sometimes that shot on goal category can be a little bit misleading. That's a shot on goal, but there was no doubt that Smith was always going to smother that one. Whereas sometimes you have a shot that doesn't end up on net but produces a much better scoring opportunity. Cesny will get this pass, try to cross it in. Illinois State knocks it away, and it will be a corner kick. I like the idea there from the defender. She was trying to pass it just over the touchline and set up a throw-in instead that time. Edelman sends it over the goal line, and now will set up a corner kick. We're in the final 30 minutes of this match, just past the 60-minute mark.
If you're Loyola, you do not want to squander this opportunity. You'd like to see this result in a goal right here.
Cross comes in. Dangerous spot. Smith knocks it out. It's still going to be in a dangerous zone as this is a high boot. Loyola gets it back. Across. Knocked away. And now Illinois State has at least momentarily cleared the danger. Back to Cesny. Cesny, a high arching cross off the head of an ISU defender and poking it free. Great job by Illinois State, and credit to Abby Joyce as she got a foot on it.
Again, when the Illinois State defense needs to step up, prevent a goal, protect that 1-goal lead, they do it. But for a second there, it looked like Loyola might have been able to net one.
Long range. Tough to tell if that was a pass or a shot. It was an attempt to move the ball towards the net either way. And it was offline. Smith came off her line and watched it roll out of play.
And now under 30 minutes to go, like you said, Tom, Loyola, you got to start racking up the pressure here. Start to get some shots on net. As you find yourself trailing, not a must-win situation like we said at the break for Loyola. As
here comes Sarah Lafayette. Lafayette on an on-man rush. She goes down hard in the box as that one is knocked away from her feet. It'll be a corner kick for Illinois State.
So for Illinois State, like we said, this feels like a must-win. You're playing the MVC's best. You're 1-1 in conference. You find yourself on the outside looking into that top four. Only the top four will make the conference tournament. Loyola's sitting at 3-1. Of all the Missouri Valley Conference teams, they've played the most games in conference to this point. So a very big win here for Illinois State if you can pick it up.
Cross came in from the corner kick spot and taken away by Loyola. Lindsay Hardiman had some momentum behind her as she carried it out of the zone. But the Redbirds took it back. Now intercepted by Loyola. And this is a dangerous spot. And credit to Smith. She came outside the box and knocked that one away. She was the last line of defense against one of the leading goal scorers in the Missouri Valley, Jenna Cesny. And now we'll have a foul against Loyola.
And that's not the first time here tonight that Haley Smith has found herself one-on-one with Jenna Cesny. And so far, Illinois State's kept her quiet. I mean, you knew she was going to draw a lot of attention here tonight as, like you said, Tom, one of the best scorers in the Missouri Valley Conference. But she's been quiet tonight.
This pass is poked away by Cesny. And Sienna Cruz with a dangerous move, but the offside flag is thrown up. That'll stop the positive momentum for Loyola. They've been held scoreless in the second half, and after we saw 4 goals in the first period of play, just a single goal through the first 20 minutes here in the second half, it belongs to Illinois State, and that's why they have a 3-2 lead.
And when you look at the goals that Loyola has scored, we mentioned a goal that came off an originally saved shot by Haley Smith, and then a shot that came from the goal line at a nearly improbable part of the field that it was going to find the back of the net, but it did. So Illinois State has really made Loyola work for whatever they've gotten. They haven't had much here to work with in the second half, not many opportunities.
Jessica Denny was working down the near touchline. And it was knocked away as Dickman tried to get it back for ISU. Still not cleared out of the zone yet, as the Redbirds ratchet up the pressure once again. Dickman has it in the center of the field. Works it to the wide part of the area to Lafayette. Defender tumbles down. Lafayette will get it back. Makes one defender miss. And that one is knocked out of play, but a great move by Sarah Lafayette to clear the space to even attempt to get that pass off.
Again, you see how good she can be. Sarah Lafayette, just a freshman, the hometown girl. And the fact that she's only a freshman gives you optimism for the future.
Michaela Unger will exit now. 2 goals on the night for her. Natalie Von Lowe, the freshman, checks back in. Cross coming in from the corner kick position. Off the top of the crossbar, still rolling around, and it'll remain in play. And it's attempted to be centered, and we will have a foul coming up. This will be a free kick. Looks like Kelly Zickert will do the honors for Illinois State, and it'll be basically a couple steps inside the corner kick line from the exact same angle. So for Zickert, the corner kick specialist, why not come over and take this free kick? Crossed into the middle. Knocked away momentarily by Ford. And it was kept alive by ISU. Forced back in now by the team in black. Running it down is Dickman, but she runs out of real estate.
Would have been nice right there for Illinois State to extend this to a 2-goal game with just about 23 minutes remaining.
And we did get a yellow card on Sienna Cruz just a moment ago, as this one is poked in by Illinois State. Now a 2-goal advantage off the quick start on the corner kick. The Redbirds have doubled their advantage. It's 4-2.
Right on cue, as you mentioned how it would be nice to have a 2-goal advantage on the top dog in the MVC, and right there Illinois State gets it.
Kate Delfava put it in the back of the net for Illinois State. The sophomore from Kenosha, Wisconsin, has given the Redbirds a 2-goal advantage.
Her first goal of the season comes in a very opportune time and gives Illinois State a 2-goal advantage over Loyola here.
Cross comes in the middle, knocked away by ISU. Second opportunity for Loyola and poked away. And now the Redbirds cleared the zone. For Illinois State, that's one of their backline defenders, Delfava, coming up and making a big play for her team. Now, on the break, Natalie Von Lowe in the box, trying to slam it home, and it's in! Von Lowe with the 5th goal of the night. The Redbirds, in short succession, have broken this game open. It's 5-2.
We see Maddie Ford come out of the goal right there to try and make a play on the ball. Backfires on her right there as Von Lowe finds the back of the net.
Off the assist from Emily Dickman. Goal number 1 of the season for Natalie Von Lowe. And the freshman has her first collegiate goal, and a nice take by her. For Ford, a dangerous move that does not pay off. And now all players will be pushed forward for Loyola, down 3 goals. And this Redbird offense, which has been dormant for most of the season, has come alive in the last couple games. 4 goals in the win over UIC, 3 goals over Evansville, and now how about 5 goals against the Loyola Ramblers. And this is a very good defensive team, Mike, as well. On the year, this is a great offense, but the defense has not been bad itself.
They've only allowed 17 goals to this point coming into tonight. A 1.21 goals against average. And Illinois State just explodes here for 5.
And Haley Smith's mistakes of the first half have been forgotten by this tremendous offensive production. And for Brad Silvey, he felt like his team was capable of this all season, and now here it is. Throw to the middle to Von Lowe, looking for her second goal, right at the goalkeeper as Ford stood tall. Von Lowe that time looked like she maybe just rushed it a little bit, had a lot of room and a lot of time to operate in the center of the pitch.
Could have been her second goal of the night. 6th goal of the night for Illinois State, but that time shot it right at the goalie, Maddie Ford.
Stoppage of play on the field. And now you take a look at the upcoming schedule. Difficult for Loyola. They're going to go to Kentucky, an SEC opponent, and then return home against Northern Iowa, and then a visit to Drake. And those will be some of the top teams in the conference. Illinois State You take a look at what they have coming up, and they'll head to Indiana State and at Valparaiso. And, Mike, 3 of their last 4 will be on the road. And this is a team that has somewhat struggled, you would say, on the road this season.
Yeah, it's nice to see that they're on a 4-game win streak right now. If they can, hold this 3-goal advantage, which seems very likely, they'll have a 5-game win streak heading into those road contests. So you have some confidence and momentum going into that. So you hope that carries over onto your road trips.
Under now the final 20 minutes of this match. We're in the 71st minute, and we'll see a substitution. Denny exits, and coming on for ISU will be Alex McAllister. Dickman throwing it forward, looking for that time for the substitution who just came on, Alex MacArthur. I want to correct myself, said McAllister, meant MacArthur. The freshman from Hinsdale, Illinois. And now Loyola has possession. Zicker plays it in the wide area. Illinois State gets it forward to MacArthur. MacArthur dumps it off. And Zickert's pass knocked out of play.
If you're Loyola, you have to respond here quickly. Just about 18 minutes left, and you got to make up for 3 goals. So there's really no time to mess around.
Emily Dickman's done tremendous work in the midfield. Has a goal as well in this match. She'll come off in the center of the park. And for Illinois State, all those substitutes as well burn a little extra time off the clock, and the Redbirds will happily do that. Lafayette has it up the far touchline. Crosses it in. And it is by her offensive attackers. And now coming out to scoop it up is Maddie Ford. For Loyola, we know this is a team that's capable of putting up goals in bunches. But now in the final 17 minutes of this match, they'll need to do it in short order.
A team that did score 9 goals in one match. In succession, you've seen them score 3, 3, 9, 2, 3, 6, and 5. All during that 7-game win streak. So you know they can score the ball. They have not done so at a high rate here tonight. And they'll have to do it in the final 16 minutes.
And you wonder if there's anyone left on that Loyola bench they can turn to for some offensive firepower. Now would be the time to get a fresh leg sub on there. As Lafayette that time had a break going, but lost her footing. Illinois State dominating the shot category, 16-6 and 8-3 in the shots on goal. As MacArthur has an opportunity, shot coming, and scooping it up is Ford. As first she knocked it down, and then scrambled to cover up. Pretty good shot that time from the freshman.
A nice look right there. But again, Maddie Ford, her number's called. Saves the shot and keeps the deficit for Loyola at 3.
It was just a 1-goal game, but as we saw in the first half for Illinois State, as we got later into the period, they began to open up the scoring. Most of the Redbirds' goals came from the 20 to 10 minute mark in that first period. Today, in the second half, we've seen that goal scoring bunch come right around the 20 to 15 minute mark. As this pass is knocked out of play. And it'll be a corner kick now for Loyola.
If you're Loyola, we keep hitting on it, but you really got to be disappointed with your offensive production here tonight. Again, Illinois State, a team that up until this 4-game win streak had not been able to score the ball very well. Brad Sylvie called for more scoring, more goals, more offense, and he's been getting plenty of that here lately.
Cross comes in, headed away by Illinois State. Shot is deflected and now cleared by Illinois State. Going to be a long run this time for Patel as she chases it down. And Smith will come up and easily make the stop. And you see Haley Smith right now, and she is head to toe covered in mud. She is going to earn this victory if she's able to hold on to the final, now 14 and a half minutes.
And you talked about the Ramblers wearing white, but if you're Haley Smith, it didn't really matter because you got dirty either way.
Redbirds pressing forward, looking for perhaps the nail in the coffin to shut the door on this victory. Loyola on this side. One goal could really get them back into a competitive affair here. We're running out of time to find it.
And if you're Loyola, you really want to try and find Jenna Cisney, who's not had a prototypical night for her. A typical night for her is she came in with 11 goals, one of the best clips in the Valley, and so far she's still searching for that first shot of the night.
I will say in defense of Cesney, she has done some solid things in crossing and passing in this game. She has not necessarily been the assertive attacker, but she has worked hard to find her teammates. Ultimately, it's just been not enough offensive production in this game for Loyola. Michaela Unger's checked back in, and Unger now showing off the speed. Long-range shot, and Ford drops to a knee to make sure she holds on, but she does indeed make the save. Unger was looking for the hat trick there. Had it denied. Now final 12 and a half minutes. The countdown is on for Illinois State. And a hard tumble as two players met, and both hit the turf hard. That's Emily Lang for Loyola of Chicago that time. Took a hard hit but kept going. Ramblers looking to poke it forward. Illinois State will play it back. Smith had to play some defense that time as that pass went to her left. Pass thrown forward. It's going to end up in Von Lowe's feet. Von Lowe was trying to center it that time in the vicinity of Michaela Unger, but credit the defense who knocked it away.
Von Lowe was looking for her second goal of the night. But now if you're Loyola, you really can't mess around with just about 11 minutes to go in this game. You got to score high. You got to score at a high rate right now to get back into this game and at least force a draw.
Cross coming in. And the shot is a nice one from Natalie Von Lowe, looking for her second goal of the night and her second collegiate goal.
Well, how about the look she got right here? Nicely set up. Just a bit wide.
Was a tough angle from that position. She had the defender on her back and the goalie hugging the post, but did a good effort to make it a competitive shot that time. For Illinois State, if they hold on and win, a crucial victory in terms of that NCAA tournament profile, as well as more importantly for them, the conference tournament. Need to be one of those top four to punch a ticket to Springfield. And a win against this Rambler team will certainly help their cause. And starting out 2-1 against what was a difficult schedule, you play probably two of the top teams in the conference to open it up. Evansville, a lower-tier team sandwiched in between. And I think Brad Sylvie would be happy with 2-1. Now on the road, though, we're going to have to go out and finish strong in this schedule.
Like you said, Tom, 3 road games coming up for Illinois State. It appears that they'll be riding a 5-game win streak heading into that, and they're playing their best soccer.
Haley Smith that time does her job as she was able to punch it over the net. We're under the final 10 minutes now of this match. Illinois State has outshot the Ramblers now 19-6. MacArthur with momentum at her back on the right-footed dribble. Wheels around and dishes it off. And, Mike, you look at this match from the Illinois State perspective, and a lot of positives, especially with the goal scoring. And this ISU team has found its goal scoring touch. You can argue it's one of the best teams now in the conference. That had been what had been holding them down really in the month of September.
And what you're starting to see why they were picked to finish first in the Missouri Valley Conference. And it seems like everything's starting to come together. They really weren't being scored upon all that much. They just could not score the ball, and so far, during this win streak, they've proven to do so, which has to make Brad Sylvie a happy guy because they're finally playing the soccer that you thought they would all season long. And this was no easy task as Loyola came in here as the best team in the Valley.
And that cross will roll over the back line and out of play. Now we're in the final 7 or so minutes, and it looks like Illinois State is inching towards now its 8th victory on the season. 8-5-2 the Redbirds would go. All the Ramblers would fall to 10-5, 3-2 in conference play. Redbirds would jump up to 2-1. And you saw those conference standings during halftime. The middle of the Missouri Valley is significantly bunched up. So for both of these teams, there will still be work to do in the back half of their conference schedule. And Mike, what's interesting to note is because of the smaller size of the Missouri Valley women's soccer portion of the conference, as this pass goes into the net. Possibly Sienna Cruz got a head on it. She was in the vicinity. Her teammates will go over and celebrate with her. Still a lot of work to do if the Ramblers want to close in on this gap, but that is a start, as it does look like Cruz just got a head on it. Credit to Cruz that time as she found the cross and was able to beat Haley Smith.
Off the hands, looked like Haley Smith might have gotten a hand on that ball. The muddy Haley Smith, as you see there, but still holding a 2-goal advantage. And as you said, Tom, a lot of room to be made up here in just about 6 minutes and 45 seconds.
As Illinois State now with just the 2-goal advantage, and Loyola can push forward. Down 3 goals, it's hard to justify sending your back row forward, but now the Ramblers, I'm sure, will be in all-out attack mode looking for 2 more goals. Even a draw would do them a lot of good in terms of solidifying their tournament position. But, Mike, we were talking about it. It's a slim conference schedule, so one odd defeat to an opponent that's you probably should be, and a lot can change for both of these squads.
There's not a lot of margin for error during the conference season inside the Missouri Valley Conference for women's soccer. And like you said, Tom, one loss can make the difference between you making the tournament and not.
Here's Kelly Zickert. Zickert wheels around in the box, trying to center it, and it's knocked away. Redbirds maintain possession, however, as Brittany Pagnanucci had it, but the Ramblers booted. Last substitutions for both teams in the waning moments of this match getting ready to come on. Illinois State will take on Indiana State this weekend. I mentioned Loyola. They're out of conference play. That's very unusual this time of year, but that'll be the case for them. And that's, again, because not that many Missouri Valley teams have women's soccer programs, at least compared to the overall size of the conference. That's why pickups like Valparaiso have been valuable to some of the women's athletic programs where the Crusaders are heavily involved.
And you've seen what an asset they can be to the Missouri Valley Conference. Valpo just paid a visit to Illinois State over the past weekend in volleyball.
Across into the box. It's free and nearly poked home. Great job by Abby Joyce, the late defender, getting to it for Illinois State. With Smith down, that was it. She was the final hope, and she was able to get it out of play.
And that goal would have made it 5-4, and we're talking about a different game here coming down to the final 4 minutes. I mean, now the pressure's back on Illinois State. I mean, if you blow a 3-goal lead here in this second half, and really with under 10 minutes to go, it doesn't look too good if you're Brad Sylvie.
We're under the 4-minute mark of this second half. And the 86th minute of this match. Redbirds continuing to push the pace. And now some substitutions on for Illinois State. They'll bring back on Emily Dickman. That's Illinois State taking advantage of the substitution rules. We mentioned that you come out in the first half, you can't re-enter until the second half. But if you come out in the second half, you're allowed one re-entry. Brad Sylvie bought some time for Dickman and company. Now they'll come back into play, trying to preserve what is a 2-goal advantage for Loyola. Now with 3 minutes left to go, they're going to send pretty much all 11 forward looking for that goal.
And if you're Loyola, you'd like to sub in a lot of offense here in the final 3 minutes, as you've kind of been searching for it all night long.
It's unusual to say in a team that scored 3 goals, but none of their goals have looked particularly great. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you win this game, but in a losing effort, I'm sure you look on the sidelines and Barry Bimby will have stuff to work upon for this team.
But especially at the rate that they've been scoring goals, with these 3 goals here tonight, they've totaled 51 goals to this point in the season, which is a pretty outstanding mark.
But I think if you look at the shot totals, you get a good idea. Just 7 shots for Loyola, only 4 on net. Compare that to 19 for the Redbirds and 10 shots on net. And that paints the picture of this day offensively for Loyola. Yes, they put up 3 goals, but certainly some margin of luck involved in a day where we only have 4 shots on net, that 3 end up in the net.
And that's something Loyola's probably going to want to fix here as we're coming down on the home stretch of the schedule, heading into conference play. You can't really have a clunker like this when you're in the conference play. Otherwise, you find yourself with a first round exit like Loyola did last year against Illinois State.
Kate Del Fava comes out of the pack with the ball. We're in the final 80 seconds of the match. Illinois State looks like they'll hold on for their 8th victory of the season, improving to 2-1 in conference play. And Mike, you would say the schedule gets a little bit easier in terms of quality of opponent, but a lot of road challenges for Illinois State, and for your young team, this is where you're tested on the road and really find out what this ISU club's made of.
And as we talked about, Tom, in the Missouri Valley Conference, you can't slip up for one game because that one game can mean the difference between you making the Missouri Valley Conference tournament and seeing yourself on the outside looking in. But obviously a very, very big victory here against Loyola. As we said, Loyola came in the best team in the Missouri Valley Conference. They just lost to Valparaiso, ending a 7-game win streak. Looks like that'll continue here, as well as Illinois State's win streak. That will continue. That'll extend to 5. And like you said, Tom, they hit the road. So a good time to be playing your best soccer.
And for Illinois State, 5 goals in this one. Another tremendous offensive performance. And the past 2 Wednesdays for a team that entered, I believe, last Wednesday's contest with 7 goals on the season, they've scored 9 goals now the past 2 Wednesdays, and you throw in a couple more, 3 on Saturday, 12 goals in the past week for ISU.
You got to be happy if you're Brad Sylvie. That's what you wanted. You wanted the offense to show up. They've shown up, and it results in another victory for Illinois State.
Illinois State comes away 5-3 victors over the Loyola University Ramblers, and now we get ready for our player of the game. Couple different options for Illinois State, but it had to be Michaela Unger. Unger with 2 goals in this match. And Mike, despite some early miscues for her in terms of the offsides, she came up large and put home the important goals.
She came in with 1 goal on the season, knocked home 2. As you said, Tom, redeemed herself from a couple offsides penalties, which included the first goal of the second half, which put Illinois State ahead 3-2. But a very nice night if you're Michaela Unger.
A very nice night for the Illinois State offense as well. Unger and company put up 5 goals, and they take down Loyola University on this evening. 5-3 the final score, and so for our producer, Autumn Conley, I'm Tom Prizeman alongside my telecast partner, Mike Mara, saying so long from Normal, Illinois, where the final score is the Illinois State Redbirds defeating Loyola University 5-3. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as other productions on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.